Alright guys, welcome back to the channel. Thank you for checking the video out today. We have more PlayStation news, rumors, and leaks to go over and cover here today. So before we dive into these topics, do me a big favor. If you end up enjoying the video or finding it informative, be sure to leave it a like. Helps the videos out more than you know. And if you are new here to the channel, please consider hitting that subscribe button as well. The first topic we're talking about has to do with PlayStation VR 2, more specifically a peripheral manufacturer that is already working on some plastic rifles for PSVR 2. So coming from Push Square, they say one of the best accessories for the original PSVR was the amazing aim controller, which utilized similar technology to the PS Move to place a real physical rifle in your hands. While it didn't get as much support as it arguably deserved, it was outstanding in first-party games like Farpoint and Firewall Zero Hour. With the new technology of the PSVR 2 Sense controllers, it's unlikely Sony will release anything like it again, although some peripheral manufacturers are already planning rifle-shaped plastic docks. Virtual Rifle Systems posted a concept on Twitter which doesn't look massively dissimilar to its stock already available for the Meta Quest 2. The underlying concept here is to give you something physical to hold onto, although the company does take its philosophy further with all manner of attachable accessories you can use to spruce up the aesthetics of your plastic firearm. So this was something I just wanted to share with you guys because, you know, I think that when people look at games like Firewall Ultra, which is the sequel to Firewall Zero Hour, they are kind of wondering, you know, are we going to get a follow-up to the official aim controller? And this article points out that it seems unlikely due to the technology that's in the Sense controllers. So, you know, it remains to be seen if Sony's going to do something officially. But even if they don't, it seems that there is at least one peripheral manufacturer that is going to have you covered. And this concept does look pretty cool. So if you're somebody who played PSVR with the aim controller or any games that took advantage of it, let me know how big of a difference it made between playing it with the aim controller versus not, and whether or not you are interested in this concept that's being put forth by Virtual Rifle Systems. I'll be interested to see what you guys have to say. Moving on to the next topic, though, this is something I don't want to spend too much time on, but I do think it's worth pointing out, and I want it to kind of call some attention to it. We're heading over to the Twitter account of Tommy Earl Jenkins. He is the actor who played Die Hardman in Death Stranding. And he tweeted out, "Something's coming, are you ready?" Now, obviously, this could be for something else, but given the timing of him putting this out on October 10th, it's at the exact time that Kojima has officially begun teasing out his next game, revealing that Elle Fanning is going to be part of it. And we're also hearing rumors about Project Ocean, which is supposedly Death Stranding 2. So he has about 120 replies on this tweet, and pretty much every single reply that I could read, people are automatically assuming he is teasing Death Stranding 2 or the announcement of what will be Death Stranding 2. And to kind of back this up, if you look at his likes, he actually liked quite a few tweets, or responses, I should say, from individuals basically saying, like, this is for Death Stranding 2, isn't it? Or you're teasing out Death Stranding 2. So he liked those tweets. And again, there's just a lot of evidence beginning to mount up pretty rapidly that we are on the cusp of a pretty significant announcement. Because regardless of whether or not you want Death Stranding 2 from Kojima Productions, it will be a pretty significant reveal. I mean, this is going to be a big deal for Sony. It's going to be a big deal for Kojima Productions. So, you know, I don't think that this is a game announcement that's necessarily just going to just drop out of nowhere. This is getting people thinking that, you know, look, we've been holding out maybe too much hope for a PlayStation show of some kind, maybe a state of play, something happening before the end of the year. And people are now looking at this. And again, maybe we're just getting kind of desperate here and looking at everything and assuming it's a sign. But again, given the timing, it's hard not to think that this is a direct tease that we're going to be getting a major game announcement for Death Stranding 2 in the not too distant future. So just wanted to kind of point that out to you guys. Please let me know what you think about it. Moving on to the next topic, we have some really, really great news for the PS5. And believe me, as somebody who's been there since before the launch of the PS5, and I'm sure many of you have as well. We've been kind of following this journey. This is something that I'm actually really happy to be reporting on. So first off, we're looking at Push Square, and it says here PS5 shipments in the US are up a jaw-dropping 400% year on year for September. They say here, if you wanted proof that the PS5 stock situation is finally getting better, look no further than this crazy statistic from MST financial analyst David Gibson. In the US, Sony shipments have increased by a staggering 400% in September 2022 compared to September 2021. That's a near unprecedented improvement, and just goes to show how strangled the supply chain has been up until now. This explosion in shipment numbers allowed the PS5 to outsell the Nintendo Switch in September's NPD report. It should be noted, as Gibson points out, this will in part be Sony throwing its weight behind the upcoming release of God of War Ragnarok, which it obviously wants to be a blockbuster. The company clearly expects the PlayStation exclusive to shift some current-gen hardware, despite also being available on the PS4. But there's Black Friday and the holiday season to consider too. The PS5 has been selling impressively well ever since its launch in 2020, but demand has always outstripped supply. On multiple occasions, we've said that once the PS5 is more readily available, sales figures will skyrocket, and that's probably what's going to happen once these newly shipped units hit store shelves. And so this is absolutely huge. This is a massive number, and it may sound like an exaggeration, but it's not. It's actually unprecedented. I don't think people really wanted to believe that the demand was that high for the PS5, and I have seen people kind of downplay it and basically say that, no, look, people are just not really that into the PS5. They don't want the PS5 as much as maybe we were led to believe it, but that's absolutely not true. What this article is saying is something that I've been saying for quite some time as well, and I think we're going to see happen in real time in the coming months, and that is, as soon as this shortage ends and the PS5 is readily available for people to pick up, we're going to see the PS5 just take off. And I've always told you that this is what we want to see, because this generation has gotten off to such a strange start. A lot of PlayStation fans want to see development teams fully embrace the current gen consoles and not feel the need to have to continue to release cross-gen games. We've seen kind of, I don't know if it's necessarily a slower start, but there's been this kind of weight on these current gen consoles and the PS5 for like the past year and a half, and I think that weight is about to be lifted, but it gets better. So we have a new report from Insider Gaming, and guys, let me tell you, this is pretty crazy if it's true. It says, sources, Sony to ship 30 million PlayStation 5s in fiscal year 2023. Now, some people might not fully grasp like the significance of this, but we're going to break that down in just a moment. And it's worth noting that this is very likely true because this is coming from Tom Henderson. He is the individual behind InsiderGaming.com, and Tom Henderson has been on point when it comes to anything relating to PlayStation. So it says here in the article that Sony is aiming to ship 30 million PlayStation 5 consoles in fiscal year 2023. And for those who aren't aware, fiscal year 2023 starts on March of 2023 and ends on March 2024. This is what sources have said. These figures were briefly mentioned in our exclusive report last month on a new PlayStation 5 releasing with a detachable disc drive. Since then, sources have provided more information on the anticipated PS5 sales numbers. Production of the new detachable disc drive console is expected to start April of 2023, with the console hitting the market in September of that year, sources said. And it was said that Sony aims to sell 18 million consoles in fiscal year 2022 and 30.5 million in fiscal year 2023, just shy of a 70% increase year over year. 12 million of the 30.5 million consoles in fiscal year 23 will be the old PlayStation 5, with that console completely ceasing production by holiday of 2023. It's believed that the new detachable disk drive PS5 is a means to reduce production costs. Moving forward, the company will only need to manufacture one console, but have the two price points of the digital and disc versions. Presumably, this could mean that the detachable disk drive will be priced at around $100, which is currently the price difference between the digital and standard PS5. So here's the thing about this, okay? So talking about the PS5, we covered this before, and we're getting a little bit more insight into it here. But 30 million PS5s in fiscal year 2023. So the reason why this is very significant, and this is huge for the PS5, is because this would set a new record, not just for Sony, but if I'm not mistaken, I think that this would just straight up set a new industry record. I don't think we've ever seen a console manufacturer push out 30 million PlayStation, or not PlayStation, but 30 million consoles within one fiscal year. So when you consider that for fiscal year 22, Sony's aiming for a max of 18 million. They are bumping that up from 18 million to 30.5. So the reason why this is a big deal is because, number one, as we just talked about, it means that the shortage will be completely over. Okay, that's what Sony's anticipating. There's going to be no more shortage in fiscal year 2023, starting from March 2023. On top of that, in order for Sony to achieve something like this, there has to be just an unprecedented level of demand for the PlayStation 5. Now, in order for that to happen, Sony's going to have some pretty big titles releasing. Now, in 2023, we know to expect Final Fantasy 16 and Spider-Man 2, and you could make the argument that maybe those two titles alone could be enough to move the units like this, but I'm not thinking that's the case. I think that Sony has possibly some significant surprises hidden and up their sleeves, because that's the thing, guys. I don't mean to sound like a broken record here, but this would set a new record, and we're talking about a console that I said at the beginning of this new generation that the demand for the PS5, it seems like it could definitely surpass the PS4. And I even kind of alluded to this notion of, who knows, maybe this could be the first console to get somewhat close and maybe even hit that number that the PS2 did with 155 million units sold. And I'll tell you right now, if this is true and this is what Sony's aiming for, the PS5 could go on to be the best-selling PlayStation console of all time, because that's crazy. That's crazy. And that gets me really excited because, again, the only way Sony achieves this is by producing amazing must-have games. That's the only way they do this, in my opinion. So it gets me excited. That does it for this video, though, guys. I don't want to keep going on here. Let me know your thoughts about this down in the comments below. I'll be interested to see what you have to say. Again, leave the video a like if you enjoyed it or found it informative. Subscribe if you're new. Hit the bell notification icon. And feel free to share the video out on top of all that. But until next time, guys, take care.